All right, back on the conversation. We got a great guest for you guys. India Walton, she's a Democratic nominee for mayor of Buffalo. We're gonna have an election very soon, and she could be the first socialist mayor of a major city in America in decades. India, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
No problem. Before we get to the drama, and there's tons of drama in your race, including some Democratic leader comparing you to the KKK. I mean, absolute insanity. The corporate Democrats betraying the Democratic Party, all that. First, though, you beat a 4-term Democratic incumbent in the primary. How'd you do that?
Sure. It's been incredible. We came victorious through the primary with an all volunteer staff. Team that was really inexperienced, but we just knocked doors. We made phone calls. We made sure that our message got out to voters, and we made sure that we turned our people out to vote. It was just a classic political campaign. We did the thing that they tell organizers to do, and that's organize. So that's how we got here.
That's interesting. One more quick thing on that. Was there a lot of media coverage of the primary or no?
No, the media was like absent. Like I was begging them to compel Brown to debate. I was begging them to cover campaign events we were having. There was very little media attention pre-primary, and now I'm like trying to fend them off desperately. Yeah.
Funny how that works. So did Brown ever debate you before the vote or no?
No, there was no debate pre-primary, but we did have one debate after the primary, him and 2 other write-in candidates. And if you've not seen the footage of that, it's on YouTube and it's an interesting watch.
Yeah, funny how he wanted to debate after he lost, huh? Before he's running from you and doesn't want any piece of it. Now that you're the favorite, all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, please debate." Funny how that works.
Funny.
Yeah. So. Is there any Republicans in the race at this point or no?
Yeah, Byron Brown. You know, he has been an elected official for 30 years, always as a Democrat. He is the former chair of the New York State Democratic Party, but now he is actively colluding with Republicans. The state Republican committee has contributed to his campaign. Like he's blatantly using Republican talking points, and some of his reporters are like suspects in the January 6th insurgency on the Capitol. So there is not a Republican contender on the ballot, but we know who the Republicans are supporting, and that's my opponent.
Yeah. And so this has happened in a lot of places in the country. Nina Turner in Ohio, who's now TYT host here, her opponent brazenly took Trump donor money, and then the media turned around and questioned whether Nina Turner was an actual Democrat. So, but here you're the official Democratic nominee. So good news, Chuck Schumer just endorsed you. And so I'm sure you're happy about that. I got my reasons for why he did that, but let's put that aside. Win's a win, right? But people all the way up to, even before we get to the guy who compared you to the KKK, people, including the governor, Kathy Hochul, Gillibrand still has not endorsed you, even though you're the nominee. Do they have an?
Gillibrand has.
Oh, she did. Okay, so
she did.
Okay, yeah. I read an earlier article and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Okay, so they're now like, even the centrists are. You've created a panic where they're endorsing you, which is great. Right, and by the way, in case you want to help India, IndiaWalton.com, IndiaWalton.com, there it is. You can donate, you can volunteer. Or the election's right around the corner. So, anyways, but Hochul, if I'm not mistaken, has not endorsed you, and she's the governor of New York. So I'm going to ask you a funny question. What's their excuse for not endorsing the Democratic nominee?
The public excuse is people are too busy doing their jobs to be worried about what's happening in Little Buffalo. But I think the real reason is that there are 30 years of relationships here. There are folks who know the incumbent mayor, and I am gracious. I'm not upset that people have decided to wait it out. But I am pleased that there are some folks who are brave enough to come out and say, India is the endorsed Democratic nominee. And if we say we support Democrats, then we support India Walton. And, to Jay Jacobs and all of the people, like the Buffalo News said, well, maybe not David Duke, but she's really similar to Trump, right? To try and draw that parallel when I have a platform that's centered on reducing poverty, addressing childhood lead poisoning, and making sure folks have good living wage jobs, is just the most ridiculous thing ever. So folks can endorse who they want to. I'm going to talk to the voters. I'm going to make sure that I'm talking to everyday folks, residents of Buffalo. That is the draw of this campaign, is that I'm not as focused on big names and the top dogs, right? My time and attention goes to the little guy. That's how I've won this campaign in the primary. That's how I'm going to win in the general, and that's how I'm going to govern as mayor.
India, it appears that they're worried that you will actually support the voters and not their donors. That is why a lot of the Democratic establishment took a very, 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 very long time to endorse you, or have not yet done so. And so is there truth to the rumor that you will not solely represent the corporate donors of the Democratic Party?
That is 100% accurate. The reason why I don't accept contributions from large developers and corporations, the reason why my campaign is supported by small dollar donors is because I want to be accountable to the people that I am charged with serving. And I think that it is easy to be corrupted by power. And in order to keep me honest, in order to keep me transparent and accessible, I don't want to accept funding from people that I'm going to have to make deals with, right? That is not the way I'm going to operate my city government.
So what is it in Buffalo that you think has the powers that be so nervous about you? Because since you don't take the corporate money, you're free, and they're really, really worried about free people who just represent the voters. But they're worried about it, not theoretically, not ideologically, but practically, about certain things that are going to happen. There's a real estate deal, there's this deal, there's that deal. And what if India comes in and actually represents the voters and we don't get to screw them over? So are there a couple things that are happening in Buffalo that really concern those powerful people in terms of deals or anything else that might happen that they're worried about, and that's why they've brought out all the guns against you?
They have every reason to be worried, right? I think that this notion that I'm anti-development and I'm going to somehow negatively impact the business community is false. It's a lie meant to instoke fear, because when people conduct business ethically, they won't have anything to worry about. But those who have been taking advantage of the system, using taxpayer money while they are uber wealthy and comfortable, and we still have childhood poverty that's nearing 50%, and Buffalo remains the third poorest city of its size in the nation, and folks are unhoused and unfed and uncared for. They have reason to be concerned. And I would add that, I don't owe anyone anything. In the words of the late, great Shirley Chisholm, I'm unbought and unbossed. And that means that there are a lot of people in high paying patronage positions who are afraid that I'm going to hire someone who is highly skilled and equipped to do a good job with standard of excellence that's actually going to serve the residents of the city of Buffalo. So, folks who are doing a good job, people who are honest and honorable and want to do what's best for Buffalo, are more than welcome into a Walton administration, are more than welcome to continue to do business with the city of Buffalo. But those who aim to extract from our community and exploit our people, they gotta go. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah, I'm in favor of anyone quoting Shirley Chisholm. So every Shirley Chisholm quote gets a IndiaWalton.com reference. Okay, so by the way, I only wish there was an example of a Democratic socialist who'd won a mayorship and then what happened with it. Oh right, there's Burlington, where Bernie Sanders won by only 10 votes. The first time he won, only by 10 votes, and then he did not block all business. He did not block all development, but he did block a development that was going to be on the park or by the water that people loved, and he turned it into a park. And then he wound up having 80% popularity. Okay. It's kind of how it works. All right, now, last thing is the giant controversy around Jay Jacobs. He is the New York Democratic Party chair. So this is not some rando guy. I mean, that's a big guy in New York Democratic politics. And he compared, he said you were so extreme, that's why he hadn't made up his mind on whether to endorse you or not. And he felt no obligation to endorse you because he wouldn't necessarily endorse David Duke, the Grand Wizard of the KKK. So it's an analogy, but it's an analogy that equates you to the KKK. What do you think? I mean, that is such an unbelievably extreme thing to say. What is it about corporate Democrats like Jay Jacobs that makes them think anyone who represents the voters is the equivalent of the KKK?
I couldn't tell you, unfortunately. And I think the really disappointing part is that Jay Jacobs doesn't know me. He's never met me, and there's nothing about what I believe that is extreme. People deserve a place to live, a place to lay their head. Children deserve a quality education. Folks deserve healthcare. People just want access to their government. And I don't think that's extreme, but for folks who have been able to run this shell game where they give preferential treatment to their wealthy donors are now having to draw these ridiculous parallels in an effort to make people afraid of me. But when my message is in front of voters, when people say, oh, well, she's not radical at all. Actually, it's kind of extreme that we've been suffering this long. It's extreme that people are working 40, 50, and 60-hour weeks and then still having to go stand on the bread line. Those are things that are extreme, and it needs to end right now. So God bless Jay Jacobs. My goal right now in the next 7 days is to talk to the voters, talk to the residents and the people of Buffalo, and drown out the negativity and really amplify our message of hope, our message of progress, and our message of putting the people first.
Okay, I hear you. That's a good attitude, right attitude. I am not blessing Jay Jacobs. Okay, but that's me. And should you want your representatives to be unbought and unbossed? Of course, so they can represent you and not the people who bought them. This should be relatively elementary if we had a real media in this country. All right, IndiaWalton.com. India, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And looking forward to having you back once you're mayor of Buffalo.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been great.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.